Thank you. Hey, how's it going? I'm so glad you took me up on this video series, and these videos combined with your new book, Always Ripped, The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a New Man After 40, are the perfect companions as they'll reinforce the key things that will ensure you make everlasting change. And of course, there are goodies in here that are not in the book and vice versa. So thanks for your interest in letting go of drinking and drugs and nicotine. And I'm not sure if you've read my book first or if you just came right over and started up this video series. It doesn't matter. Either way, they'll work just fine hand in glove with one another, so no worries about that. I believe that our purpose in being here is to heal ourselves and teach others to do the same. It's kind of funny, isn't it? When I was 12, I couldn't possibly imagine myself drinking or drugging or smoking as an adult. Now, fast forward 10 years to being 22, I couldn't possibly imagine my life without drinking or smoking on a daily basis. What the hell happened? Did that happen to you? When we were kids, didn't we have high hopes for how we'd turn out? Being an adult seemed like it would never happen, but someday, by golly, we'd all be astronauts, world famous, super rich, or president. Drugs and alcohol during those formative years derailed those dreams for most of us, and they continue to derail us today, just in a basic sense of everyday existence in many cases, much less accomplishing dreams. So sure, they've derailed us, but I believe in reality, what they do is distract us. So we're going to break the hypnotic spell and wake the fuck up and take our lives back. How's that sound? Can I get a hell yeah? So let's get going. I'm not going to get into my drinking and drugging resume and try to one-up you on who got the most fucked up back in the day and tell rock bottom stories and all that shit. With us being in our 40s and 50s, we've seen it all, we've done it all, we got the t-shirt. We've all blacked out, we've all got those stories. At this point, we've ridden every ride in the park, haven't we? So by the time I hit my 40s, I was a daily drinker and vacillated between smoking cigarettes and cigars. The classic smoker-drinker, right? So how'd I fix that? Pretty simple. I made a decision to get ripped. Here's the thing. I had no intention of giving up drinking and cigars. I just wanted to look in front of a mirror because my wife didn't seem attracted to me anymore. So in order to get ripped, I had to start running and exercising and eating better. This integration of new good things basically forced out the old bad shit. It was totally by accident. It was totally enjoyable and fulfilling too. I found subtraction the old shit by addition of new shit. Subtraction through addition. This is what my coaching program and my book I'm talking about. It's all about integration, and addition overwhelms. We don't need 97 new things to do before 7 a.m. every morning. We all have lives, jobs, and bills to pay. We're all cut from the same cloth here. We're trying to be great husbands, fathers, employees, and employers, and we've got aging parents too. There's only 24 hours a day, and we kind of like to enjoy a small sliver of that. That's not too much to ask. So we're going to get there. I'm not going to bullshit. Starting anything new is pretty tough, but at least we know which end is up now, and with all my heart, I believe that without a doubt, what I'm about to share with you is the absolute best, bar none, way to take back your life and turn it around and make it a fucking success story. So just stick with me here. It ain't fucking over just because you're over 40, brother. We have ability, we have intelligence, and we have life experience. We can look at our elders now and see how we're going to end up if we don't pull our heads out of our asses. So by integrating workouts and running into my life as non-negotiable on a daily basis, I eventually subtracted drinking and smoking. I believe the reason that I was successful is because I never focused on dropping the vices. It honestly never crossed my mind. Why? Because I was only focused on getting ripped. You know, you cannot make this shit up, what I'm about to tell you. My wife just texted me and she says, hey, can you give me a call, please? I give her a call and she says, I did something kind of crazy. And I thought she bought something that she shouldn't have bought. She said, I went to the grocery store, one of these earthy places. I'm not going to name names. And she said, yeah, so I wanted some hibiscus tea and I bought it and took it home, started chugging it. And she said, next thing I know, I'm feeling funny. Turns out this shit was filled with CBD and THC in the freaking grocery store. This is what, she didn't go to a freaking, a hippie shop. And so now she's at home high, and she does not want to be high at home or at any other, type of situation. Unfucking believable. By the way, she's a nurse. That's not cool for nurses to be high. She could lose her job, if there was some kind of situation where they make nurses take drug tests all the time because if medication goes missing. The truth is stranger than fiction. Her time has been hijacked. She had a bunch of things that she wanted to do today. It's her day off, thank God. Anyway, let's get on with the course. So the key to all this is becoming another person, not living your best life, not being the best version of yourself, just become someone else. That's kind of the crux of my whole program. You know, I'm absolutely fascinated with how folks who are now household names were not born into those names and personalities, which we know as characters, but they created them. Stanley Bert Eisen and Chaim Witz became Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of a quiet little rock group known as KISS. You want the best, you got the best. Norma Jean Mortensen became Marilyn Monroe. Marion Robert Morrison, you know him better as John Wayne. Even magicians do it. David Seth Kotkin became the most commercially successful magician in history. That's David Copperfield. Same for Chris Angel. He was born Christopher Nicholas Sarantakos. Coincidentally, his cousin is John Stamatopoulos. It even goes back to Harry Houdini, who was actually Eric Weiss. So back when I was at college in Virginia Tech, my roommate Matt and I went to this bar called Top of the Stairs. It's still there today. For some weird reason, Matt turns to me and says, I'm going to walk in there like a badass. He straightened up, puffed out his chest, and strode in there like he was freaking Conor McGregor, and he owned the place, you know. And I watched this dude's twice his size stepped aside so he could walk through. And he was a theater major, and he couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. Not saying that theater majors can't be tough, but this is Matt we're talking about. And in that moment, I saw what I call the motherfucker inside him take over. And I really don't think it was acting. That CD playing around 25 years ago, it sort of germinated in my mind. And what if we can be badasses perpetually, you know? Like, what he did was stupid. It's lucky he didn't get his ass kicked. But what I'm talking about is creating a character, stepping into that character, and we don't break that character. We'll actually become that person. And so, you know, what does this guy stand for? And what are some cool and admirable things that he does? You know, it's obvious that it works for entertainers and even for folks like Ralph Lauren. Real name, Ralph Lifshitz. He decided to change his name as a teenager. Wonder why? Because he was teased. Well, he's worth $9.9 billion right now if you're interested, and his name wasn't a setback, it was a setup. So I took this concept that's been working quite well for entertainers, and I ran with it, and it changed my freaking life. So the following quote here is from a man named Archibald Leach. It is the bedrock that my entire program is built upon. I pretended to be somebody I wanted to be until I finally became that person. You might recognize him better as the suave Cary Grant. You know, a person that I'm pretty fascinated with is 50 Cent. He co-wrote The 50th Power with Robert Greene, and he went on to write his own book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, under his real name, Curtis Jackson. 50 and I happen to be the same age, and while I grew up with every conceivable advantage from love and security, he grew up around drug dealing and violence. His mother was murdered, and he has no idea who his father is. He's on his way to becoming a billionaire, and well, I've got a little catching up to do if it was a contest. But in both books, he cites sobriety as being his superpower, and that always stuck with me. That image of him running on a treadmill all hooked up to breathing monitors was just so badass to me. I was just in awe watching a guy creating a superhero out of himself right before my eyes. So it's obvious that 50's a badass, and he works out and he runs. He's also a boxer. And one thing you might notice is he doesn't ever talk about or rap about being sober. He just operates in alignment with how he sees himself. For him, it's not about being drunk or sober or whatever. He's just too busy living his life, acting, writing, and producing his own show. Also still writing music primarily for new artists to use as well, and doing philanthropic stuff. The lesson I'm taking from 50 is if you're constantly writing, talking, tweeting, or rapping about how sober you are, you're not busy enough. So here's the deal, brother. You don't have a drug or alcohol problem. You have a self-image problem. Yeah, I thought that sounded corny as hell at verse 2. But it's 100% true. For example, do you think 50 Cent can even imagine himself shooting up heroin? 50 Cent shooting up heroin is nowhere close to being aligned with his self-image. Therefore, it is just not an option for him. It will never occur to 50 Cent that he might want to try heroin. Now, 50 Cent trying out jiu-jitsu is conceivable because he's already a fighter. 50 Cent going from rapper to actor is in alignment because he's already an entertainer, you see? So assuming you are kind of like myself, an over 40 guy who has not thrown in the towel and given up on his dreams, here's how I see things. When you're over the hill, now you can see at the bottom, right? And at the bottom, you see a casket. But I also see two paths to get down the hill. We can't go backwards, and we can kind of stall out a bit, but we have to make our way down the hill. Now, one of those paths is steep, rocky, and dangerous. We'll pretty much slide down the hill out of control on that path getting to the bottom way too fast. The other path is more pleasant, meandering, with lots of views and water holes and streams and stuff. And we can hang out with others and do picnics and shit, and actually enjoy the hike. This right here, right now, is that fork in the road that everyone's been talking about. Sure, there have been other forks we took that led us astray, but somehow, some way, here we are. This one is going to be the most crucial. This is it. This one will determine if you get to walk your daughter down the aisle. This one will determine if your wife leaves you, or does she fall back in love with you all over again and start to respect you. I mean, how many people in your life right now do you know that can't make it to their own mailbox and back if their life depended on it? The two people that come to mind in my life, well, they sure are nice people, but that doesn't mean that they aren't a burden to their loved ones now. And when they were in their 40s and 50s, they were functioning, sure, just like us. But they had no idea just how bad things could actually get. And they're now prisoners within their own bodies. We're so used to the warnings about wrapping our cars around trees, driving drunk and shit, but there are worse ways to go. Let me tell you, the Lord helps those who help themselves. And you don't need any help sitting on your ass getting drunk in front of your TV. I'm not judging. I'm right here in the trenches with you. I used to get hammered watching James Bond kicking all that ass, screwing all those chicks while he was getting hammered. Part of the problem is we've downloaded too much conflicting, misleading bullshit. Secret agents, they don't do that. We see Brad Pitt all ripped up in Fight Club with a cigarette dangling out of his mouth. Fighters don't fucking smoke. Floyd Mayweather's secret to outlasting everyone, retiring undefeated with a 50-0-0 record, is that he never got winded. He never got winded because he runs 10 miles every day. He runs 10 miles every day because smoking is not an option to him. It's just not on the freaking menu. That activity is not in alignment with who he is and what he does. There's a huge misleading disconnect with the movies we watch or download and the reality of things. Let's get this straight. It's simple. Our actions must be in alignment with the outcome we desire. Let's say it again. Our actions must be in alignment with the outcome we desire. Shit's got to make sense. All right, so let's go back to when you were 12. By that point, you had some gifts that were just beginning to be revealed to you. What were they? Were you a little stronger than most of your friends? Maybe you were a little faster. You could climb trees better, or you didn't mind the heights. Maybe you were exceptional at drawing or painting. I don't know. Exploring in the woods and swimming in rivers and creeks and stuff. That stuff was cool to you. Bikes and skateboards were cool. Who was your favorite comic book superhero? Did you see a little of yourself in him? Did you used to play the guitar? Were you kind of getting good at it? Maybe your mom made you take piano lessons, or you played saxophone in the middle school band and you kind of liked it. Back then, who did you think you'd grow up to be? And that's totally okay that you're not a fucking astronaut now. I never became an architect either. So let's not get bummed out here. But we need this type of reset in order to start driving our own buses again. You still have talents and gifts inside you, man. Somewhere along the line, when we started drinking and smoking a little bit and the weed and the booze, we thought that shit enhanced our talents. It ultimately suppressed them. Musicians have this problem especially. All right, so sure, when weed was new to us, it was neat to do and do this shit high and watch that movie high, and man, it's just done. It's a habit and a stupid ritual now. There's only so much fucking weed you can smoke, and it's just not serving you. Not only do you not need it, it's holding you back. Have you ever noticed that you haven't had too many new gifts inside of you being revealed to you lately since you've been in this life? Do you think Luke Skywalker could have really become a Jedi Knight if he was taking hits from the bong? So I'd like to share this epiphany I had with you, and that is, if we have to think in terms of living a sober life, that's a glaringly obvious indicator that we've had too much alcohol or whatever far too frequently in our lives. I mean, look at a lion. Is he living as a sober lion? No, he's just going around doing badass lion shit. Same as a horse, a bear, a hawk, or an eagle, or whatever, right? It's arguable that the only other mammal that gets drunk on purpose is a monkey. There are certain monkeys that know when a certain fruit sits on the ground long enough, it becomes fermented. They know when they eat it, they'll get fucked up. So knowing that, I ask you, do you want to be a lion or a fucking monkey? So in order for you to drop the drink and the drugs, your self-image needs to be of someone who doesn't do that shit, not unlike 50 Cent. You don't have time because you're too busy living. So let's close our eyes right here and that 12-year-old version of yourself, imagine what the ripped version of you looks like. Do those tats you got back in your 20s and 30s look tight and right like they're supposed to again? Do you see yourself finishing a marathon, running into the arms of your girl, and friends and family cheering you on? This is where we got to start. I get into the professional side of things into the Ultimate Guide, but we're putting first things first right here. You know, I used to watch the news all the time and worry about the homeless and the Middle East and on and on and on. But then I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, and it totally flipped my whole paradigm on its head when he discussed the 3 zones in which we operate. The circle of control starts with our body and what we can do with it. That is under your control, not the Middle East or how long it's going to take the state to finish Interstate 64. Beyond that is our zone of influence. What do we have influence over? For some, it's a company with thousands of employees. For others, it's your kids and pets. And then there's the zone of concern, where the Middle East and the homelessness and everything under the sun we want fixed reside. We're concerned and we have opinions, but we really can't do jack shit about them except vote or donate to charitable causes. How much we donate resides in our what? Our circle of influence. If we're broke and we can't help, that means our circle of control is small. We waste time getting into arguments while neglecting the things within our circles of control and influence. It's a matter of putting first things first. Also in the book, our bodies are certainly within our circle of control, and that's where we need to hop back into the driver's seat. You need to make a conscious decision to get ripped. Why? Because ripped ass motherfuckers aren't drunk, druggy, vaping, smoking, drinking ass fools. Ripped motherfuckers got it going on. They're the type of people other people ask, what do you think, man? Do people give a shit what you think right now? I'm not trying to be a dick. This whole self-image thing boils down to this. You need to like what you see in the mirror buck fucking naked. When you like what you see, people will like what they see in you. The world is a mirror, not a window. The process of getting ripped is what makes you feel good. The byproduct is what makes you look good. That's worth repeating. The process of getting ripped is what makes you feel good on a daily basis, by the way. The great news is that you will feel better long before you fall in love with what you see in the mirror, so don't worry. The fact that you're ripped in the end is like all the rank and medals displayed on a general's uniform or the merit badges that an Eagle Scout has accumulated. Being ripped just shows the work that you've put in is all. So the process of getting ripped is what makes you feel good. The byproduct is that you look good. You see, I Forrest Gumped my way into this shit and I discovered a whole new world. Look, all I wanted to do was look good because I thought my wife wasn't into me anymore. So I decided to get ripped. Now, what I discovered is going to open up door after door after door for you. So who are your role models? Not intellectually, but physically. You got any guys that you kind of admire from afar? Maybe you've entered man crush territory with a quarterback from your favorite football team. Now don't be ashamed of that shit for a second. A man crush just means that you haven't quite put your finger on why you admire another man is all. You look up to him kind of like a freshman in high school might look up to a super cool senior. There's a reason why you admire some of these guys and they can sort of morph into role models for you. So what is the downside of being like the guys you admire? Now let me ask you, if your role model walked into your living room right now, would he want to hang with you? Well, that's what we're here to fix. I ask questions like that because a well-stated problem is half solved. So let's get those gears turning in that wonderful brain of yours. Start thinking about the possibilities of what you could look like physically. You got some good arms that get all veined up and ropey. You might have a killer back that a few pull-ups every day will just, unveil. Start visualizing yourself as a ripped-ass motherfucker. Ain't no downside to this, brother. I can't thank you enough for being here and putting your faith in me. I take this shit seriously. But you know what? We're going to get serious about having fun. There's no law that says change your life for the better has to be fucking miserable. Look, I discovered this firsthand and I feel compelled to tell the whole world about it. So you are in the right place. So for real, you need to think about this. You as a ripped ass motherfucker, think about it, visualize it, and I'll see you in the next video.